terroir.
Does it exist?
Do you remember in that pub in Ireland? That was where it was that we were told that grain makes a difference, yeast makes a difference, water.
Yeah.
Fermentation time makes a difference, but after, say, 3 or 4 years, the cask is the only terroir that exists because it's got such an overarching influence on the spirit that's inside the cask. Discuss.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, like, it is interesting because does it really, like, I always have that issue. It's like, you know, that a lot of whiskey producers produce whiskey, you know, maybe on like Islay or up the west coast or in the Highland region, and then it all gets put into casks in central Scotland. Like, what, like, surely, like, that then feeds into that. Could you really say that it's an Islay malt if you're saying all of that flavour is coming from casks in
But that
central
also
Scotland?
proves that same point, doesn't it? If the cask is the only terroir, it's the cask it's in that is determining the quality of the product. It's not where that cask is held. Because I used to think, I used to hope, I used to argue that, you know, you were near the sea in Bowmore, and that the salt air was coming in and all that. And
there must be something to that. There must be.
yeah, if the cask is in Bowmore.
Yeah.
But if it is in Rutherglen, much less so.
Yeah, definitely. But like that, like, but then it's like, where are you making that argument? Is it like, if you're saying, like, the grain, where the grain's grown, the field that comes from, you know, all of those constituent parts, like, are you taking water out of the ground underneath your distillery? Like, then if it sits in a cask 100 miles away, like, there's a, you know what I mean? Like, I always have a bit of a kind of issue with that. And then all of the stuff with casks is like, if you've got them racked or palletized.
So tell us about, you've been doing some work on a system for a specific maturation type of maturation building, right?
Well, what we were looking at is trying to figure out the most efficient way. Like, you've got the way that the kind of building regs are written is you've got these 1,000 metre squared cells, if you like. That's what it has to be. You've got fire protection around it.
Unless you have sprinklers.
Well, yeah, you can double it if you have a sprinkler system, but 1,000 square metres isn't all equal, if you know what I mean. Like, if it's trying to work it back to be almost like a modular size from the cask or the racking to make sure that you can maximize the amount of storage that you get in there. So it's not just, here's a 1,000 square metre shed that happens to be this dimension by that dimension.
Yeah.
But then you lose, I don't know, 50 casks because you can't get the forklift in to the end bay because you've got primary steelwork in the way and all those kind of things. So it's just trying to really, like, break it down to that tiny bit of detail to say, well, actually we could build a warehouse that's 800 square metres, but it's got as many casks as everybody else's 1,000 square metres.
And that sort of thing, it doesn't matter if you're building one warehouse very much, but see, if you're building 10, 20, 50 warehouses, it starts to save 1 or 2 off the end.
But I mean, it's still, you know, like, you still be like £1,500, £2,000 a square metre. So any saving is a good saving if you're storing more casks per metre squared you're building.
Yeah. That reminds me of a housing project I was working on, and one of the salespeople came in really late. The thing was being built, and said, we need bigger wardrobes. And they said to me, what's the effect of putting bigger wardrobes in these houses? Well, you know, add a metre to every house and you lose 2 or 3 houses off the end of the site. It does have a massive effect. So that's the efficiency that you're working up there.
Yeah, and like obviously, you know, like most distilleries, when they start, they'll build one warehouse or maybe 2, you know, so you have like a kind of stunt warehouse, maybe like a traditional dunnage. Then you have like the kind of the hard-working warehouse out the back.
Yeah.
And then it's making sure that what you build there is efficient, and then you can duplicate it. And as you say, like, if like on year 5, you might have 4 or 5 of those warehouses. So if you've had, then, you know, if you've saved 200 square meters per warehouse, by year 5, that's a whole warehouse you've saved building.
Just say a few words about why a cask store warehouse is not just an agricultural building. What makes it different?
Well, I mean, like it's the rules and regulations on storing spirit really take it away from being just an agricultural shed.
So it's like ATEX rated electrics?
Yeah, I mean, like generally they try and, you know, like even like your fuse board or your switchboard, whatever, would be outside the building. So
Yeah.
then you don't need to worry about having to ATEX that. But then, yeah, like all your lighting, you need to have security cameras and alarms, and, you know, and it's an electric forklift usually. So, like, where do you store that outside of the zoning and everything? And, you know, like, there's all of these different considerations, and like what you do on the floor. Like, and if you decide to insulate the building, you know, like some people will have a small amount of insulation on the panels.
That's my realization. You've got a building with a thermal mass of stored whiskey, so it's basically solid mass inside, and the building outside is doing very little compared to the mass of that stored liquid.
Yeah, but that's only when you get to a full...
When you filled it.
When you've got a full warehouse.
Yeah.
So depending on how quickly you're filling warehouses, then that's maybe one of the considerations, because like your traditional dunnage would have been stone-walled, open floor,
Yeah.
you know, maybe a slate roof. So
To much lower density.
yeah,
much
and you're
lower
talking
mass.
about like a 1 degree change through the seasons, or that's what was ideal.
Yeah.
But now you're seeing, you know, like big steel sheds have got a huge temperature swing from if you're up at 8 meters high versus being on the ground. You know, and
Yeah.
people rotate their casks, and, you know, you've got like your bourbon rick houses, which are got an even bigger temperature swing, but they kind of lean into that, and it's part of what helps them age their product. So there's lots of kind of nuance and opinion, and people trying out different ways of maturing casks, or maturing spirit, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.